I'm Sam Bushman,
And Daniel Morrison.
and this is Candid Gaming's review of Hustle Kings for the PlayStation Network.
Hustle Kings is a pool game. That's it. It literally is just a pool game. It has very little features that make it beyond just being a pool game.
Why do you feel that way?
Well, the first thing that really bothers me about this game is that it has downloadable things that change the gameplay.
Oh yeah, you mean like the chalk they provide that can change your accuracy and stuff?
Yeah, you could purchase these chalk. The chalk could increase your accuracy, increase your aim, and it's just unfair.
You know, yeah, that really kind of bugs me too. The idea that a player could technically play better in a match just depending completely on his ball, not depending on his skills on his own. Even beyond that, it even felt unfair playing single player. When I'd go in and play, the career mode in easy, things seemed really tame, really easy to get into, but then once you hit the normal difficulty or the medium difficulty, things really ramped up quickly.
Yeah, as soon as you got up to like the medium to hard difficulty, it suddenly became a game of try to keep the ball away from the opponent. As soon as the opponent got it, they would go on a streak that could literally clear the board.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine myself making some of the shots that these opponents had made. They were able to do 2 or 3 bounces and knock balls in with a backspin. And given the kind of control scheme that was available to me with the aim line and all that, I didn't feel like I was capable of performing those same kinds of shots. There was a lot of inaccuracy.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I felt when I pressed that fine-tuning button, it didn't do much. I was like going ahead and pressing it and hoping it would do something, and it just really felt like it wasn't doing that. Not only that, once you get up to the higher things, your line is gone. So not only are the opponents harder, your line is gone. You have nothing to base it on.
It really seemed like it was leaning more towards you getting the snot beat out of you and less about you actually using your own skill to overcome the challenge. And that really felt unfair to me.
Exactly. It requires money for you to go even get into these higher events. And to go ahead and basically you lose the money, which means then you have to go back.
Yeah, you know what? I actually did notice that. When you get into some of these harder difficulties, you find that you're getting beat a lot, you lose your money, you have to go back and grind to get more money, and that became repetitive, because the way the difficulty curve works, the easy guys are really easy. The normal guys are really, really, really hard. So you find yourself beating opponents that aren't challenging at all, and it isn't a whole lot of fun, and then having to go up against near impossible opponents with the accrued money, and hope that you can push through and get to the next part of the game.
Admittedly, these critiques are only on the career mode itself. There is another thing that just could play just skill shots, and then there's the online. And then you have the whole thing of your just old atmosphere, which is kind of weird. You play basically in a hospital. It is a very dead world. You literally play in a clean room. It's just, everything's perfect.
Yeah, things did look very empty. The ambience really wasn't there to set up that kind of club feel that you'd expect, or even a bar feel that you'd expect in pool games. But you have to admit the graphics were at least decent.
The graphics are very decent. It just overall felt very clean. Like, on the pool table, I admit, nice, clean setup, looks great on the pool table. But, you don't feel like you're in a bar. You feel like you're in a giant, empty room. It didn't matter really where you were. The location felt irrelevant after a while just because of how clean and, barren it was. There was nothing that made one room more interesting than another.
Now, see, that aside, though, I really wish the visual aesthetic would have matched the variety you found in the gameplay itself. Because when you're playing Hustle Kings, they give you the choice of 9-ball, 8-ball, even ones I've never heard of, like Cutthroat, where it's kind of a survivalist type game where you have to sink as many balls as possible. That large variety really changed the scope of pool for me and exactly what pool could do.
But that's another problem I found with this game. It didn't give you good instruction when it came to some of these really abstract rule types. And they really hid the instructions if you accidentally blew over that thing when it just went on there instantly. And even then, the description is really oriented for someone who already knew pool and all the terms, or someone who already knew what they came into.
Yeah, I really wish the instructions would have matched what they did for the trick shots and some of these other modes, because those also, again, added this interesting variety, this interesting scope on pool. They literally instruct you on how these near impossible shots worked, and then you can just sit down and, lean the pool cue a little bit and hit the shot and curve around and knock your ball in, and you think it's magic, but you know how it's working. It was really interesting.
That was one of the more interesting parts. And then when it comes on to the multiplayer, that's, I think, probably the best part about this game, is that the multiplayer had a very active community.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. I was able to hop in the game 9 times out of 10, go into a quick match. 2 or 3 seconds some of those pops on, and we play. The only thing that was really missing was a nice in-game chat system. Other than that, everything's quick, easy, and I honestly enjoyed playing humans a lot more than playing computers. It felt a lot more fair.
Yeah, when playing humans, well, the great thing is that basically you could pick a room, and it would be a room of people of similar interests. If you want to play with a room that all want to play hardcore, like 8-ball with no lines on, you play in a whole room of people with that similar interest. Now, admittedly, I felt a little disconnected with everyone because the chat was a little bit hard to work with, but overall, you could get into an interest group and you keep going, and I found there was plenty of rooms. I had no problem finding rooms for this game.
And see, for me, that, along with the variety it provides, is what gives Hustle Kings its value. Overall, I think I'd give it maybe a $5 value, just because it provides some, nuggets of gameplay that you don't find in free games. You've got the different modes of play. You've got the trick shots. And this, to me, is worth at least a $5 value.
I still kind of think this game overall, while looking good, has nothing to give you. You have, even on the PSN, you have Home, which has its own pool game. You have Yahoo's Flash game. You got Facebook's Flash game. You got Newgrounds Flash pool game. You could all play these with like friends and stuff. There's so many free pool options. Hell, literally, you could just go to a bar and play pool. I prefer that one over all the internet options. It just doesn't have anything substantial that really gives it. And the whole thing of having these things that you can purchase to cheat really blows me off on this. It really is a huge negative to me.
Well, I agree. Again, I'd be skeptical of some of the free options, though. You look at something like PlayStation Home, you have to wait in line to play pool. And even then, the aiming is even worse on that than it is on Hustle Kings. I think that should give it at least a little value.
But one's free, and one you're expected to spend $10, and still, the one part that constantly haunts me is the idea that there is chalk and cheat in this game that you have to purchase.
I guess.
That really, I think, set it to being a game that I would avoid just on that premise alone. I don't want to go ahead and have a game that I have, hey, that guy bought the super cannon. That cannon is better than any cannon you could ever get in this game. He bought it for $5. Would you like to buy that same cannon? I don't want to have a game that start happening everywhere.
And I suppose that brings up the question, how can you make a microtransaction-based game be profitable, but still give players a reason to buy it? Because admittedly, if it was only just avatar skins or shirts or different pool cues, what are the chances of you actually going out and buying any of that content?
I'm not sure, but I think that's about it we have to say.
Yeah, so thanks for tuning in for our review. As always, if you have any suggestions, comments, or ways we can improve the show, just leave comments at the bottom of the page or the YouTube page. Otherwise, take care.